Live look here in New York City. This is where former President Donald Trump is set to be deposed today. It comes as he appears to be getting a few new contenders in the race for the White House in 2024.
And if you've been tuning in with us, we just brought you to New Hampshire, where Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina announcing a presidential exploratory committee and kicking things off there in New Hampshire, releasing a political ad as well on social media, meeting with voters there. He's set to visit Iowa, South Carolina as well. To talk about that and more, we welcome in Jason Miller. He's a senior advisor for President Trump, joining us live on set, as well as John Burnett, who has been with us. We appreciate that. Jason, good to see you again, by the way. It's been a while. So we've seen Senator Tim Scott come out with an exploratory committee here, a possible presidential bid for months, with a national listening tour. It's called Faith in America, that began back in January. Does he have a shot? Is Senator Tim Scott here? When you saw the ad, and we've been playing this, he seems to be touching on things that are resonating with conservatives, Christian values, etc. Your thoughts on Senator Tim Scott possibly entering the ring?
So I'm a big Tim Scott fan. I don't think ultimately there's a pathway when it comes to 2024. But I do think this is more of an indictment on Ron DeSantis, who is likely to jump in, and Nikki Haley, and the fact that it shows that neither one of them have been able to lock up the anti-Trump vote within the primary. It certainly will make South Carolina a bit more interesting. Most polling has President Trump way out ahead by 20-25 points, even with Haley and Scott in the race. I think that further divvies up that vote. But I think that if you're Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, you're looking over your shoulder and saying, uh-oh, Tim Scott's got a good story and he's coming for my votes.
And again, he's got the time to do it, right? He's out there. He's essentially kind of campaigning when you're meeting with voters and getting a feel for things, which we've seen the former President Donald Trump also do that, right? He's hosted rallies, so he's got crowds to come out and support him. But also, we can't ignore the fact he's in New York. He's got a deposition going on. He's got some legal challenges that he's facing right now. How is the campaign addressing that, dealing with that, at the same time running a campaign for the presidency?
Well, as someone who's been with the president since 2016, keep in mind we've dealt with these external threats all the way through, whether it be the Russia, or Mueller, as the president likes to say, going through impeachment 1 and impeachment 2. So there's always been this kind of the swirl of the attack against President Trump. The numbers, though, tell a pretty specific story. Since President Trump's indictment, there have been 2 polls from YouGov and The Economist. They've shown President Trump beating Joe Biden in the general election. Our polling shows us beating Biden in the general, as does Tony Fabrizio from our super PAC that's been publicly released. And so when you look at the numbers, I think most voters are seeing, wait a minute, why are they trying to go after him with all these legal things? And again, the biggest thing, though, for this week, pay attention to the Fed economist report yesterday saying that a recession this fall looks likely. That makes things really, really tough for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I read that. John, no stranger to campaigning here, and getting back to the other contenders there. And as Jason's mentioning, you know, the front runner, no doubt, undoubtedly right now is former President Donald Trump here. But the other names in the ring, Vivek Ramaswamy, Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas as well. And then now you see the exploratory committee with Senator Tim Scott. How do you see this playing out? Do you see this continuing to get even more crowded than it already is?
It could possibly, but to Jason's point, I don't see a path for victory in terms of in the primary for anyone other than President Trump. However, I do think multiple people should get in, right? Because there's different strategies. Some people actually get in because you need a vice president, right? Yep. And when you look at Senator Tim Scott, he's well liked. That's how you kicked off your comments, right? He's liked on the left and the right. And he also has a track record for reaching across the aisle and getting things done, namely the opportunity zones, working with Cory Booker out of New Jersey, right? So the thing is, and he's also focusing on faith and values, right? We're talking a lot about Trump's legal issues. We're talking a lot about economic issues, but we do need to get back to faith and values in our country. And I think that's a message in a lane I think he's going to drive home. I think the person that's probably most concerned is Ambassador Haley. Why? Because she's looking to really take advantage of the fact that she was governor of South Carolina. Now she has someone else getting in from the same state.
It's a familiar face, no doubt. But I just wanted to ask Jason, while you're with us, and I'm curious from the Trump campaign perspective, is there a new approach this time around to reach out to those voters that he didn't land with the last time for 2020, right? Those independent voters, the suburban women vote. What's the plan to have a different appeal?
Great question. So a lot of it's going to go to pocketbook issues, both pocketbook issues, crime, also with some of the international security type things we see. Obviously, the world's become a much less safe place under Joe Biden, Ukraine in particular. Got to keep an eye on China as well. That's also concerning. But I think what you're going to see from President Trump is pointing out that he built the greatest economy our nation has ever had, and he can do it again. And especially with the recession coming up, when you see people going and say, wait, eggs are how much, bread's how much, gas is how much, that's a real issue. And so we're going to be doing a number of things with the campaign to talk specifically with those. One other thing I'd point out as well, when you look at the polling for voters who have an opinion of both candidates, which is a real key indicator, President Trump is leading Joe Biden on that. So the people who are definitely going to show up right now, they're showing up for Trump.
Well, recession does not play well for an incumbent without needing to be said. It's good to see Jason Miller joining us. We appreciate you taking the time
Thank you
today.